The 6:02 p.m. funicular to the peak of Mount Pilatus didn't just hum. It vibrated with a low, rhythmic frequency that made the silver fillings in my teeth ache. I was the only passenger, tucked into a cabin that smelled of cold pine and the expensive, metallic scent of fresh alpine snow. Opposite me, on a seat that should have been empty, sat a briefcase made of polished obsidian. It hadn't been there when I boarded in Lucerne. I reached out to touch the latch, and the leather didn't feel like cowhide. It felt like warm, rhythmic skin pulsing with a slow, tectonic heartbeat. I looked out the plexiglass window as we ascended into the jagged, violet shadows of the Essel Peak. The lights of the valley below didn't just twinkle. They began to rearrange themselves into a massive, glowing QR code that stretched across the entire Lake Lucerne Basin. "Don't scan it," a voice crackled over the intercom. It wasn't the conductor. It was a younger version of myself, sounding exactly as I did before the accident in 2019. "The valley is a simulation, Elias. We are currently climbing the spine of the central processor." I pulled the emergency brake, but the handle didn't move. It dissolved into a flurry of white Edelweiss petals. The funicular continued to climb, the angle becoming so steep that the gravity shifted, pinning me against the back wall, which was now a screen displaying my own DNA. The obsidian briefcase clicked open. Inside, there wasn't money or documents. There was a miniature, hyper-realistic model of the very cabin I was sitting in. Inside that model was a tiny, microscopic version of me, reaching out to touch a tiny, microscopic version of the briefcase. "Every peak in Switzerland is an antenna," the intercom voice whispered, now accompanied by the sound of a ticking Swiss watch that seemed to be echoing from inside my own chest. "The mountains aren't rock, they are calcified data. We are harvesting your grief to power the winter." Suddenly, the funicular car shattered like a dropped wine glass. I didn't fall into the abyss. I remained suspended in the freezing air, held aloft by thousands of thin, glowing fiber optic cables that reached down from the summit like the legs of a colossal, crystalline spider. A figure stepped out of the fog, walking vertically down the side of the mountain. He wore a traditional cowherd's vest, but his face was a smooth, featureless mirror. He held a tuning fork made of ice. "The resonance is off," the mirror man said. "You're still thinking about her." He struck the tuning fork against the mountain. The sound wasn't a note. It was a memory of my mother's funeral, played at a volume that threatened to unmake my atoms. The limestone cliffs began to peel away, revealing layers of brass gears and spinning, golden clockwork beneath. "Switzerland isn't a country," the mirror man explained, his voice vibrating in my marrow. "It's a Swiss-made afterlife. We keep the world's most precise records here. You were deleted in Zurich 3 hours ago. This is just the bureaucratic process of your filing." I looked at my hands and saw they were turning into fine, gray sand, the same sand used in high-end hourglasses. I wasn't a soul. I was the physical manifestation of a measurement. My life was being converted into a highly accurate duration of time to be sold to the highest bidder. I grabbed the mirror man's tuning fork and plunged it into my own shadow. The ice shattered, and the frequency changed from a funeral dirge to the chaotic, unscripted sound of a mountain stream. The fiber optic cables snapped, and the golden gears below us ground to a halt. I fell, but I didn't hit the rocks. I woke up on a bench in the Lucerne train station. The 6:02 funicular was just pulling out of the station, empty. My pockets were filled with Edelweiss petals, and my watch was ticking backward, marking the seconds of a life I had stolen back. I walked toward the lake, but I didn't look at the mountains. I knew they were watching, their limestone eyes waiting for another snag in the timing. I reached into my coat and found a single obsidian latch. The mirror man had let me go, but he had kept the rest of the case. The world looked real, but as I crossed the chapel bridge, I noticed the water of the Reuss wasn't flowing. It was a looped animation. I am a ghost in a very expensive machine, waiting for the battery to die. Switzerland is beautiful, but don't ever trust the clocks.